On an April afternoon in 2005, a red Mini Cooper sat alone in a parking lot near the Susquehanna River in Lewisburg, Pennsylvania. The car belonged to a longtime district attorney. His phone was inside. His belongings were inside. But Ray Gricar was gone. This is the disappearance of Ray Gricar. Welcome to Where the Trail Ends, where we follow the story until it disappears. Ray Gricar was 59 years old when he vanished. For more than 20 years, he had served as the district attorney of Center County, Pennsylvania. It was a demanding position, one that placed him at the center of criminal investigations, courtroom battles, and some of the county's most serious cases. People knew Ray as someone who followed routine. His work required consistency and reliability. Court schedules, meetings, filings, everything about the job depended on showing up, which is why his disappearance quickly raised alarms. On April 15, 2005, Ray left his home in Bellefonte, Pennsylvania. According to what is known, he told his girlfriend he planned to go for a drive. The trip itself did not seem unusual. Ray occasionally took drives through nearby rural areas to relax or clear his head. But as the day passed, something began to feel wrong. Ray never returned home. Hours later, his red Mini Cooper was discovered in Lewisburg, a small town roughly an hour from where he lived. The car had been parked in a lot near the Susquehanna River, a quiet area not connected to any known meeting or obligation in Ray's schedule. Investigators quickly began examining the scene. There were no signs of damage to the vehicle, no evidence of a struggle, no indication that anything violent had happened there. Inside the car were several of Ray's personal belongings, but Ray himself was nowhere to be found. As investigators began reconstructing the timeline, the questions started to multiply. Ray had not mentioned Lewisburg to anyone. There were no appointments there, no professional obligations, and no known personal connections that would explain why he had driven to that location. In other words, there was no clear reason for him to be there at all. Search efforts began quickly. Officers and volunteers canvassed the surrounding area, including riverbanks and wooded areas nearby. Divers entered the Susquehanna River and searched for signs that Ray may have fallen or entered the water. But the search produced no immediate answers. Then, months later, another discovery added an unexpected layer to the investigation. In July of 2005, fishermen pulled an object from the Susquehanna River, not far from where Ray's car had been found. It was a laptop computer. When investigators examined the device, they determined it belonged to Ray Gricar. But the laptop had been badly damaged. Even more concerning, the computer's hard drive was missing. Not long after, the missing hard drive was located nearby in the river as well, but it had been shattered into multiple pieces. The damage appeared deliberate. Destroying a hard drive requires intention. It is not something that happens accidentally through normal wear or exposure to water. Someone had taken the time to break the device apart and dispose of it in the river. What the laptop once contained has never been fully recovered. For investigators, that discovery raised difficult questions. Computers often hold records of a person's professional and personal life. Emails, documents, case files, communications. If someone wanted to remove evidence of something, destroying the hard drive would be one way to ensure it could never be recovered. But who had destroyed it? And why? As the investigation continued, several theories began to emerge. One possibility was that Ray had chosen to disappear voluntarily. At the time, he was nearing retirement after more than 2 decades as district attorney. Some investigators wondered whether he had decided to leave his life behind and start over somewhere new. But those closest to him questioned that explanation. Ray had not taken large sums of money. He had not packed belongings or prepared for travel. There were no signs that he had arranged housing or transportation elsewhere. For someone planning to disappear intentionally, there were very few preparations. Another theory considered the possibility of suicide. The proximity of the river made that a natural question for investigators to explore. But extensive searches of the water and surrounding areas never produced any physical evidence confirming that Ray had entered the river. Without evidence, the theory remained only a possibility. Then there was another line of thinking tied directly to Ray's career. As district attorney, Gricar had spent decades prosecuting criminal cases. Some of those cases involved serious crimes and high-profile defendants. In a profession like that, conflict and resentment are not uncommon. Investigators could not rule out the possibility that someone connected to Ray's work may have held a grievance against him. But again, no clear evidence emerged to support that idea. As months turned into years, the case remained open but unresolved. Ray Gricar's car had been located, his laptop had been recovered, but the person at the center of the investigation was still missing. There were no confirmed sightings of Ray after the day he vanished. No financial activity appeared in his accounts. No travel records, phone calls, or digital activity ever surfaced to suggest where he might have gone. In many disappearance cases, a single discovery eventually begins to clarify what happened. A witness, a video recording, a piece of physical evidence that moves the timeline forward. In Ray Gricar's case, that moment never arrived. Instead, investigators were left with fragments. A parked car near a river, a destroyed laptop, a shattered hard drive, pieces of a story that never came together. For someone who spent his career building cases from evidence and timelines, Ray's own disappearance left behind a puzzle with missing parts. What happened between the moment he left his home that morning and the moment his car appeared in Lewisburg remains unknown. Whether his disappearance was voluntary, accidental, or the result of something more deliberate has never been proven. Nearly 2 decades later, the trail still stops at the edge of that river. Ray Gricar vanished in April of 2005, and the answers to what happened next have never been found. Thank you for watching. This is Where the Trail Ends.